Yeah, I'm back to see a bunch of teams with no matches battle for a WrestleMania spot, and for Nick Aldis to be unable to give Randy Orton a match. And since all that sounds so positive, just keep watching. I'm Doktor O'Kay, and I'm here just not to get fined, so let's just get right to the matches and just keep posting that no experience is necessary as Bayley and Lyra run the gauntlet to defeat 5 teams to be the #1 contenders for the women's tag team titles. And since they started the match, let's just start with each of their opponents. So Shayna and Zoe started, they had 0 wins and 3 matches since SummerSlam, and Lyra reversed Shayna's elbow stomp with a jackknife. And so they advance, so Shayna and Zoe are 0-1 in 2025. That brought out Natalya and Maxine, who have, of course, 0 wins and 0 matches. So Maxine actually caught fire quickly, but after the reverse caterpillar, she was caught in an inside cradle by Bayley, so they go to 0-1. And that brought out Carter and Chance, who we'd like to see a lot more of, but they have 0 wins and 1 match since SummerSlam. And they looked amazing, of course, with their patented cake stand, but Lyra caught Chance and reversed it into a Nightwing, so Carter and Chance are 0-2 in 2025. Michin and b-fab were the 4th team. They actually had 1 win in their 1 match, and Michin had a nice tornado DDT and a suicide dive, but b-fab got caught with a big boot, and Bayley turned it into a rose plant, so Michin and b-fab are just 1-1 in 2025. So lastly, we saw the Secret Harvest, who also have 1 win and just 1 match ever together, as they beat Carter and Chance just 2 weeks ago. And you would think at this point, Bayley and Lyra would have been pretty tired, so the Harvest should have been able to defeat them quickly, but Piper ate a powerbomb by Lyra and then an elbow drop by Bayley. And I guess they were so tired that at this point in the match, Piper kicked out at 1. But later, after a super kick by Alba, Bayley was somehow able to kick out, and she reversed her into a rose plant, followed by a leg drop off of the top rope by Lyra to win the match. So this makes Bayley and Lyra the ones, as they are the #1 contenders, and they had a stare down with Liv and Raquel for their WrestleMania match. And this is Bayley and Lyra's first match ever as well, so they are 1-0. It is tough to make a call here for this match because no matter how unimpressive the competition was, it is still impressive to defeat 5 consecutive opponents, so I guess we'll give this an okay. Second, we just keep turning up the heat in Seattle as Fenix was hotter than an Arizona summer with his aerial assault, and then the MMB to get his 2nd win in 2 weeks. So Fenix is the ones, and amongst his many dazzling moves, he had a corkscrew to the outside, a Chicharito kick, a Frankensteiner, and finished with a Goodbye Amigo, a jumping back kick, and an MMB combo to get the win, and he's 2-0 in 2 weeks. And then Berto is the 2s. He had a nice flip early on, and then a pair of sit-out powerbombs later, but he's still just 0-1 in one-on-one matches, and his last one-on-one win was March 25th, 2022. Yeah. Anyways, Escobar made Berto shake hands with Fenix after the match, as he did the same in his admiration for him, and then he chastised Berto backstage for talking smack last week. And then after Escobar and Angel left, Andrade came up to Berto telling him to keep his chin up, and that they are both great wrestlers. However, Berto just told him to mind his own business. Well, perhaps there were just a bit of nerves last week for Fenix in his debut, but he turned the temperature up to 110 here, so Berto really stood no chance, but we'll give Fenix the double okay. Third, we just keep counting me out because Chelsea yells at the announcers just long enough to get herself counted out, giving Zelina an easy win in a non-title match. So Zelina is the ones, and she didn't do anything to deserve a win here, but she needed this win since she had 6 straight singles losses but she's now 1-1 in one-on-one. So Chelsea is the twos, and even though she took it to Zelina, she has no one to blame but herself, because I broke down the tape for you stupid idiots, because I saw that Chelsea looked at the ref after the count of 3 when she threw her into the barricade, and then looked at him again at the count of 5 when she slammed Zelina's head on the announce table, and then looked at him a third time at the count of 7 when she threw Zelina into the side of the ring. Only then to, instead of get back into the ring, she yelled at the announcers for a few seconds. And even though for WWE standards, it may have been a slightly quick count from 8 to 10, Chelsea still took her eye off the prize for no reason whatsoever. And despite being a champion, she's lost 5 of the last 6 singles matches, and she's 2-4 in one-on-one matches. I've got nothing else to add here. It was just over in about a minute or so, and the person who got destroyed still ended up winning, so this has to get a double not okay. Fourth, we just keep getting back to basics as Tiffany Stratton took out her aggression with a rolling senton and then a prettiest moonsault ever to defeat NXT's Roxanne Perez in another non-title match. So Tiffy is the one, since she survived a parking lot beatdown before the show by Charlotte Flair as she was thrown into her own rental car, so Charlotte gets a 1-week suspension for that. But then Tiffy needed to get back at someone, so Roxanne just happened to be there, so she landed 2 snap suplexes and then her handspring back elbow, and does indeed go to 7-0 in one-on-one matches. So Roxanne is the twos as she again looked ready for the big leagues, as she's already figured out how to craftily rake Tiffy's eyes after she got the ref to have to fix the apron. She also had a nice Russian leg sweep off of the turnbuckle and looked like she had a cartwheel leg drop, but those darn WWE producers screwed things up again as the screen cut out, preventing us from perhaps the prettiest moment ever in this match. And then she couldn't keep the crossface locked in to get the submission win, so she drops to 1-1 on one-on-one matches on the main roster. Charlotte was supposedly sent home after that earlier attack, but she yanked Tiffy's legs after the match and tossed her into the barricade, into the ring post, and then over the announce table before Barrett and some officials separated her. Normally that would just get a fine, but it has to be upgraded to a 1-week suspension since she was barred from the arena. This was a quality match between a couple of old foes from NXT, and finally, Charlotte decided to stop talking and start fighting, and so Tiffy better be ready for next week, but for now, this gets an okay. And in the main event, we just keep bumping into a win as LA Knight took a Samoan spike and Tonga ate an RKO, leaving both of them stumbling in the ring, and they bumped into each other when Knight gained his wits first and landed a BFT. So Orton and Knight are the ones, as Knight had a nice megastar elbow that was then broken up by Sikoa, leading to a complete breakdown when Orton and Sikoa fought through the crowd, leading to an open ring and that BFT, so Orton and Knight go to 1-0 in traditional tags. But that makes Sikoa and Tonga the twos, and the only real highlight here was a reversal into a Samoan by Sikoa that led to an advantage during the commercial break. And surprisingly, this is only this duo's second ever traditional tag, with their last one being a win against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens at Backlash last May. But for this year, they're 0-1. With no Orton to keep things civil, Jacob Fatu then blindsided LA Knight with a super kick to the back of his head, and he followed that up with a hip attack and 3 mighty moonsaults to end the show, so of course Fatu will get a fine. But with 3 of the 4 men in this match not having a WrestleMania match at the moment, you'd think they'd bring a little bit more intensity to it to try to get that match. But that was not the case here, so unfortunately, we have to give this a not okay. But that takes us to Beyond the Mat, and we'll stay right here with this cast of characters as Nick Aldis and Randy Orton open the show, with Aldis being strangely intense following last week's RKO, which led Orton to even suggest that he have a WrestleMania match against him next week. And with this happening to be Orton's 20th WrestleMania, you think he would be in a hurry to make a match, But surely no one wants to see a broken down never was inside the ring battle Orton for that distinction. But a couple more viable opponents came down in Sikoa and Tonga when they interrupted, and as you would think they would do, they surrounded Orton inside the ring, and despite an honorable effort by Orton, these new Bloodline members, if you still want to call them that, got the better of Orton, and Knight ran down for the save, so that did indeed set up our tag team main event. But we do have to give Sikoa and Tonga fines here, and since we don't want to give Orton a match, either here or at the end of the night, come on Nick Aldis, double not okay. As Damian Priest walked down the ramp for his face-to-face with Drew McIntyre, it was McIntyre who got the jump on him with a sneak attack from behind, forcing officials to carry Priest away. But after McIntyre removed his eye patch, saying that he was indeed 100%, Priest returned by knocking out a couple officials with his big strikes. But after getting McIntyre outside the ring, McIntyre gouged Priest's eyes and then landed a headshot with the steel steps and then a future shock DDT on top of them. So McIntyre has to get a fine for instigating, but Priest gets a 2-week suspension for attacking the officials. And this was indeed better than a face-to-face, and it now appears to be an eye for an eye. And they made this match official during the week and made it a Sin City street fight, so that has to get an okay. DIY complained to Pretty Deadly about that exposed turnbuckle that cost them the match last week, so Pretty Deadly just called them out of their minds, and when they left, the Machine Guns came in and they pointed out that it'll be them who face the Street Profits next week for the titles. And then Saxton interviewed the Street Profits, with Dawkins saying that they run this division, only for The Miz and Hayes to interrupt, with The Miz saying that it is their fault that the titles are not on the WrestleMania card. But I guess that makes The Miz actually right about something, because this is a drop ball by the WWE, because this division has been on fire for most of the year since this became a 3-hour show, and they deserve better, so to the WWE, double not okay. We had dueling pre-tape segments with Naomi and Jade, with Naomi calling Jade a snake and saying she's going to do what's best for her, and then Jade said that Naomi's time is up and that her glow is fading. This was admittedly not bad, but I think these two are the ones that need a face-to-face, and that would have been a lot better, so this gets a not okay. Cody Rhodes came to the ring, where there were a bunch of different versions of the WWE title throughout the years, and he briefly talked about several of them along the way and then stopped at Cena's spinner title. He said this was about a man that carried the company on his back through good and bad for 10 years, saying that Cena sees this as a bad thing, but that he does not. He then reminded Cena that the bell will ring and they will have to wrestle, and Cena's known his time is up for a while now. So yes, let's go to our counter. It is now at 2,543 days without a one-on-one for John Cena. So Rhodes ended with saying that the title stays on us, meaning him and the fans. And yes, I do think that Cody is the best wrestler in the world, but he has not seen this version of John Cena or any new tricks that the final boss may have up his sleeve, so the outcome remains TBD. And this is a lot easier for Rhodes to make sense when Cena is not standing across from him, so we have to give this a not okay. And lastly, the WWE finally gave us the date on which each match will take place at WrestleMania weekend. So let's run through that really quickly. For Saturday, we have Punk, Rollins, and Reigns, Jade and Naomi. We had a new match added with The New Day and the War Raiders. We've got El Grande Americano and Rey Mysterio. We've got LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. We've got Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte. And lastly, Jey Uso and Gunther. And then on Sunday, we've got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez taking on the new Gauntlet winners, Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. We've got Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre in that Sin City street fight. We've got Penta, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Then we have AJ Styles and Logan Paul. Then Bianca Belair, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley. And finally, Cody Rhodes and John Cena. So we'll note that there were 7 matches on Saturday and only 6 on Sunday. So I think we have a spot for one more match to give Randy Orton a suitable opponent. And speaking of Orton, if you missed the SportsZu's top 5 replacement opponents to challenge Orton at Mania, or his ranking of all the WrestleMania matches by their hype, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. And just like returning with no KO in my life and only getting 5 matches here, this SmackDown gets a not okay.